keeping it hot. It's what we do, it's how we live. It's how we take care of ourselves, cooking, coping, and conquering for the beloved male.
That's right, folks. Once again, we're back here with you. This is Keep It Hot. I'm Gilgamesh. Today we have a special treat for you. We're up in Healdsburg in Sonoma County. Came up here to visit Papapietro Winery. Once again, folks, it's Gilgamesh. I'm back with you again. We're having fun. We're up in Sonoma again. This is the ZAP Simply Summer Celebration. It's a barbecue. Right now, I want to bring on Kent Rosenblum, who's known as the father of Zen. He's going to tell us a little bit about how he got started and some of the things about the growth of Zinfandel in Northern California.
How did we get started? Well, back in the old days, when I got into wine, I came to California. I'm a veterinarian who fell in love with wine, but I have a sense of smell. I never knew it was good for anything. And as I got into wine, I could tell things about wine nobody else could. Realized I loved Zinfandel from old vines. Started making it in the cellar, had a little group. 78, started a little winery with the idea that rather than give it all away, we could sell it and then maybe write off our trips to France. Well, that little winery started at 400 cases and grew to 220,000. We sold that winery in 08 to a big group called Diageo, and I consulted for them for a while. But then in the meantime, we had started a small family winery called Rockwall with my daughter, who had been working at the winery since she was 12 and has a master's in fine arts, becoming the winemaker. Why are the old vines better? The old Italians who planted these things really had a good feeling for it. You know, they're head pruned dry farm, no water, and the fruit is just fantastic. So when you come to Rockwall in Alameda, you'll have a great time. And by the way, we do have a great restaurant there, Scalari's.
Oh, I know you guys had a restaurant.
Yeah, best burger in East Bay award last year.
Okay.
It's about 8 inches tall. Yeah, it's awesome.
Give us a little bit about the background of Zen.
Let us go back to the 1850s. The main grape in California was the mission grape. Guess who brought it? The missionaries, right?
Right, okay.
All right. It showed up at Leland Stanford Farms, a grape from the East Coast that was originally thought a table grape, had come, as it turns out, from Croatia, wound up in Long Island as a table grape, came around the Horn, got planted. 10 years later, it's the most widely planted grape in California, winning international awards.
Absolutely.
And that's Zinfandel.
Absolutely.
And because it somehow went through the Austrian National Collection, which was called Zinfandeller, that name Zinfandel got on there and stuck. So Zin grew in popularity through the 1800s, but phylloxera killed off all the vines in the late 1800s. But they replanted on the new American rootstock, St. George, and those are the vines we are using today, planted in the late 1800s, early 1900s, to make some of the best wines in the world out of Zinfandel. Now, what's so great about Zinfandel, as opposed to Cabernet or Merlot or Pinot Noir? Yeah, because it's a very food-friendly, fruity, upfront wine that is just delicious to drink by itself. And, you know, you can go all the way from the currants to the blackberries to the black raspberries to the raspberries, and you can make it in many styles, all the way from rosé, white Zin, port, to different styles in between, and dry wine.
This is basically what we did in our basement in San Francisco when we first started making wine. My husband started in 1980 in our basement, and now it's grown to the basement here, basically. But very humble, very, very much fun though. We make about 10,000 cases of wine back here. But this is a sorting table. So what happens is the grapes come in, they're thrown into this bin, and then this actual sorting table moves. And as the people are on both sides sorting through the grapes, they fall into the hopper and then they come through here. So this destems, This is for sorting, and then it goes into a big 1-ton bin where the grapes will actually ferment for about 10 to 14 days until all the sugar turns to alcohol. So you still, even though the fermentation process is done, you still want to treat the Pinot gently. So this is kind of if you can see, it's like a material that pushes against the grapes, and then the juice comes down, goes into a tank for about 2 to 3 days to settle, and then right into the barrels. Papapietro Perry has actually become a name that people recognize.
Right.
And to us, we kind of still pinch ourselves.
Yeah, well,
pretty
you
amazing.
guys are real famous for your Pinots.
That's right.
So what had made you guys really start to be like a place that really want to focus and really make good Pinots?
Well, my husband Ben actually started with loving Burgundies, French Burgundies, back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yes.
And we couldn't find too much in the way of Pinot as far as growing in the Russian River Valley, so we couldn't purchase that much. But eventually, after Ben started working with friends who actually became well known, Bert Williams and William Sellium, which is a very well known winery, and Bert Williams was really a pioneer of wine up in this area, especially Pinot. He was able to help us get sources, and eventually, as more Pinot was planted in the Russian River, Ben got his own sources. And he and Bruce would go up there every year and pick and bring it home and then start making their Pinot. And it was a love of Ben's, a passion for that French style wines, although his are totally different, American style.
Right.
This is California. We can't make French wine in California,
That's
but
right.
we can surely make a lovely, elegant Pinot.
Yeah, well, just a little bit about your different wines. So I know you have the different vineyards and your sources. So tell us a little bit about the sources. I know you have Laris Vineyard and you have
Yes.
Peters.
Well, we purchase from family-owned vineyards. So this to us is meaningful because we're family-owned. We want to work with other people like us. They're very careful. They don't over-chemicalize their vineyards. We're really aware of the fact that they're going to keep that vineyard for them and for their family in the future. So they're very conscious of how much, what goes into the vineyard.
And just for general wine lovers and people who are curious about wine, why is Northern California such a great place, and particularly Dry Creek Valley, such a great place to grow wine?
Well, first of all, we concentrate on both Dry Creek and Russian River Valley. That's our biggest concentration. But I think the answer is in the weather. The weather here is very, very warm in the day, but we have the fog in the evening, and that cools the Pinot grape down.
Right.
In the Dry Creek Valley, it's pretty steady temperature-wise. It does drop a bit.
Right.
But I think, again, the key here is the fog belt and being close to the ocean and getting that cool, cool evening in the warm, warm day.